Hello, this is Jack Gilbert, and I want to take a deeper dive into the presentation entitled Values-Driven Leadership. I'll give you some background on it and also content at something like the 10,000-foot level, bearing in mind that there is a much richer conversation and engagement to have with the audience. Let me tell you sort of about the learning outcomes that we have for this. First, we want to get an understanding and the underpinnings of values-driven leadership and their importance as well. In particular, the question, do they produce better outcomes? Then we want to look at the 4 personal characteristics that my co-author and I identified through research with transformational leaders. We'll come to the book in a moment. And the 5 organizational characteristics. And in particular, do they actually connect with each other so that there's who the leaders choose to be, what makes them tick actually is reflected in their organizations. And finally, in every presentation, to have people both be engaged in the conversation, but also see something for themselves back home. So this presentation was created for healthcare. It's been mostly presented in healthcare. I'll leave it up to you to judge whether it might be applicable to an organization, to an industry within which you work. The impetus was to really understand what made great leaders in healthcare tick. And we use the term transformational leaders because that meant for us leaders who over time had produced a stronger set of outcomes than their peers in similar situations. So they produced and sustained those outcomes via quality or safety, satisfaction, patient and employee satisfaction in that case, a reputation, and financial health. And as well as interviewing them in depth, we also interviewed people who reported to them at different levels in the organization to get an outside-in view, and this proved extremely valuable. 4 of them were nurses by background, 3 physicians, and 3 administrators by background, and they all shared a very similar characteristics. 5 were men and 5 were women. They were all CEOs. So they were running their organizations, and they were very organizationally diverse, from a community hospital in Indiana to a single state multi-hospital system in California, to a safety net organization in Colorado, and to everything in between, including, by the way, the Institute for Healthcare Improvement, which is based in Boston. So in that sense, they were also very geographically diverse as well, really coming from 10 different states. As we looked at all the data that we had, we came to 4 personal characteristics that characterized all of these leaders. And just so in the conversation I have with the audience, I really start with these quotes, and they are from the outside-in view about leaders. And there are always 3 different leaders out of the 10. And then I ask, well, what kind of term would you say this represents? And to get people engaged with the conversation. And I do show them what we came up with, which was a passion for patient care as a personal value. And in that way, we build the 4 personal characteristics. And it takes us to this framework of personal characteristics. And there were 4 of them, as I mentioned. Hungry for learning and reflective was the second. Genuinely caring and trusting others. And a humility and authenticity that was very clearly expressed by those who reported to them and worked with them. We also, so it's an opportunity for the audience then to sit back and reflect for themselves about their own strengths and relative weaknesses as well, what they would like to strengthen, a characteristic they would like to strengthen, and a characteristic they'd really like to capitalize more that they have. And that's a point of reflection for the participants. We do similar with the 5 organizational characteristics, and I'll just cover what they are. It's a patient care constancy of focus, and a really disciplined approach as well. Very, very, very clear, organized, not wishy-washy in any way. A very positive future orientation, really aiming high, always challenging the status quo. They engage everyone. And they see themselves as part of the team and part of the solution. They're well aware that the buck stops with them eventually, and they take on that responsibility. And some of them have made some very hard decisions along the way to strengthen their organizations. But they would much prefer to feel that they are moving forward together with others rather than just calling the shots themselves. And they loved to mentor and grow others. Every one of them just really appreciated that. In other words, very much not the defensive kind of like, well, I don't want you to be better than me. They would love it if their people outstrip them. And then we felt all this led to what we termed, and actually a participant had termed, a single brain organization. Everyone pointed in the same direction for the same outcomes. Then the question was, well, are they lived? You know, do ones connect to the other? And this we found. So if we think about, if we think about that patient as care as a personal value, it's expressed in their everyday actions and in their everyday leadership. This hunger for learning, it really shows up in a very aiming high way, and with a constant challenging to the status quo. Words in action, this humility and authenticity, this care for others and trust in others showed up as engaging everyone, as seeing themselves as part of the team and part of the solution, and in their desire to grow others. So very much it was as a whole that it all fit together. After going through this and again asking the audience to think about their own organizational characteristics and the possibility to strengthen one of them or build on the capacity they already have in another one, we turn in the end to conclude always about bringing it back home. What are the one or two actions you could take immediately to really move the ball forward on values-driven leadership in your own organization? If you have any questions about this, I'd love to hear from you. It's jack@jgilbertassociates.com, or you can go to the website to find out more information about this and other presentations. Thank you.